Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are joined by the Battlefield Fight League Featherweight Champion and soon to be in the UFC, Mr. Radley Snake Eyes de Silva. How you
How's
doing,
it
Radley?
going, man? Good, good. Thanks for having me, dude. Thanks for having me. I just literally got home from the gym right now, so happy to get in here and talk some fight stuff.
I appreciate your time, man. 2 weeks removed from the fight. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. I feel freaking really good. I feel like this fight's given me a lot of motivation to stay in the gym. Like I fight. That was my fourth fight in like 12 months, and the three fights before that. I only got like a 1 week suspension or 2 week, whatever, the lowest suspension you can get because they were all like really no injuries, clean performances. But in between them, I like stayed away from the gym maybe like 2 to 3 weeks after the fight. I just relaxed and stuff. But after this fight, I maybe took like not even a whole week off, and I was already back in the gym because you just feel excited and you feel like there's a clear path to where you want to be next, so you don't want to take any time off.
Man, you took like no damage at all. And then you also pulled off that viral wheel kick. Like, was that something that you were training on during camp?
No, not at all, man. It's just something that I've been doing my whole life, really. And like, if you talk to any of my training partners, they'll let you know that I'm always like setting up, finishing type kicks. It's just you can't really, you can land them in training, but not with any real, like power behind it. So I always do that kind of stuff in training. I set like people up to go up or down. I'm always like playing with people's minds because I've been kicking my whole life. So but people have been asking me that same question, like, wow, did you like set that up or did you like plan that? And it's like, no, not at all, because like in fight camp, you're just training so much and you're doing things with intent. But then when you get in the cage, you should be at a complete state of like just blankness, like complete flow, like no thought whatsoever. And that's how I am when I get in there. I don't have any thought whatsoever. I just let my kind of like my higher self take over, and like I usually it knows better. So that was kind of what that was really there. Like I watched the fight back, and I did, if you were to watch it, you'd be like, wow, he's setting him up for it, because the whole first round I threw probably like 4 or 5 spinning body kicks to the body, and then the first one I threw in round 2 was like up to the head, and it kind of seemed like I set him up. But that's just what I do in training anyway, so it was just second nature to do that.
Man, it was like flawless. It looked so perfect. Like, I hope Dana watches that one for sure, man.
I'm sure someone's, probably just showing him a little quick phone clip, because, spinning heel kick knockouts are always, always awesome to see. Like, even watching it myself, like removing the fact that it's me just as an MMA fan, just watching it, it's like, that's awesome. Like, I love seeing those kind of crazy knockouts just as an MMA fan. So I'm sure someone up there probably just give him a little like, oh, look at this. Like,
100%, man. And after this, what's next for you? Are you looking to defend your belt again, or are you looking for, hopefully that call to the contender series?
I think some people in my camp are kind of like in talks with some teams in the UFC, and right now I'm just waiting for them to give me a clear path. I didn't hear a no yet, and usually with the UFC, it's either a no, go get more stuff, or we'll see. They never just say yes, here is their contract. It's
Right.
usually they'll say we'll see, and then if something comes up on their end where it makes sense, and you happen to be in mind, then they'll probably throw your name in there. But I didn't hear a definitive no yet, so we're still kind of in the works, and kind of taking it day by day, playing it by ear. But definitely that means I got to be ready for any opportunity to come up at any given moment. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm literally just right back into it, and yeah, even on a Sunday here, I just came from wrestling class. Just staying as active as I can.
Inspired you to start training in MMA? Like, when did you first know that this path?
I always knew that I was gonna fight MMA. I didn't know I was gonna have it as my main profession. But I always knew I was gonna compete in MMA since I was probably like 5, 6 years old. No, yeah, maybe like 6, 7, because that was like the first time I watched my dad compete in the ring and like represent our martial art. I come from a capoeira background, and like my whole family does it. So my dad, my cousins, my brother, everyone in my family does capoeira. And seeing like the males in my family, they've all had to represent the art in the ring at some point in their lives, right? So some of them went further with it than others, but seeing everyone get in there and do it, I already knew it was only a matter of time before I did it. I just never saw a career path in it. I just thought it was just competing. I didn't really think you could make money and all that until like, watching UFC for a few years, and maybe I think it was like I think I was 15 or 16 when I thought, you know what, I think I could have a career in this. And by then I had already been doing jiu-jitsu since I was like 9, and did high school wrestling. I started when I was 14, and after a few years of that, and then started doing Muay Thai. And then I'm like, you know what, I think I could have a career in this. And that's when I took my first amateur fight at 16 years old.
How do you handle injuries and setbacks during training camp, like both physically and mentally?
I feel like back then, like I don't know if you know, but I had probably about 9 years in between fights in total. So one time I went 6 years without fighting, another time I went 3.5 years without fighting, and I feel like a lot of that was due to like mental setbacks, sometimes physical, and I feel like nowadays I really got everything dialed down to a point where I know not to overwork my body in certain ways, and I also have the recovery matching my skill level. So instead of just focusing on skill building and stuff like that, I've brought in teams just for recovery, like physio and other using science basically now to make sure that my body's at the level where my skill is, and just having that, and also having the life experience. Going through a bunch of stuff and not being able to fight for so long, you start to build character. You start, you grow as a person, right, outside of the ring. So I feel like that also has helped me be able to deal with mental setbacks a lot better than I did when I was a younger kid. Sometimes you feel like when you're going through something mentally, you feel like that's the end of the world, and it takes a lot of growing to realize that you to be grateful for the things you have. It could be a lot worse in a lot of different ways. So just bringing those together, the science with my recovery, the life experience and all that, and the skills that I've acquired through my whole life, I just feel like this is like the perfect time for me to be doing what I'm doing right now. And I think it's shown in the last 4 fights. I haven't lost a round. I've probably barely taken a punch in 4 fights, and most of those being title fights. And I feel like that's just a accumulation of all those things I've been talking about coming together at once.
What goes through your mind, man, when you're standing across from your opponent right before the fight begins?
Honestly, at that point, I think you're already blanked out. Like you feel like you're just there. Like you literally have no thoughts whatsoever. You're just like a blank slate in a body. And like in the back when you're warming up, you're usually having thoughts. But then I think when you make that walk into the cage, you're just like, it's like a robot. Like you're like an android. Like you literally have no thoughts, and you just let your like senses take over. It's one of the best feelings in the world, honestly. It's like training camp is rough, like going through it, the grind day in and day out, especially when you have a fight coming up. It's hard on the body, it's hard on the mind, but when you're in the cage and you get to show all your hard work, that's like the best feeling. Like it makes it all worth it just to be able to be in such a state of mind. It's like I wish everybody could like experience it at least once, just to know like how out of body you can be, and at the same time be so focused. It's like it's an unexplainable feeling.
Is there any fighting strategies or styles that you aim to implement in most of your fights?
Yeah, I'm super into strategy. I'm super into styles make fights. Like I've been watching UFC since I was 8, so I fully understand how styles play into matchups. It's not always, oh, that guy's just a better fighter and he won. Sometimes he's just going up against a style that just happens to be shitty for his style. So that's why I really pride myself in being a super well-rounded mixed martial artist. And even this last 12 months, I feel like people like kind of like this game is very like recency bias. You know, you're only as good as your last performance. But for me, like my last three fights before this last one, I was having very wrestle heavy game plans because that's just what the opponent called for. You know, I like to go in there and take the path of least resistance. You know what I mean? There's no need for me to be showing my toughness in every bout. You know, that's not why I got into the sport. That's not the kind of athletes that I looked up to when I was coming up and watching the game, right? I looked up to like Anderson Silva, GSP, John Jones, Demetrius Johnson. Those guys were going in there and making fights look easy. They weren't trying to struggle and show their toughness every fight, right? So I kind of take the same approach, man. I like to go in there and make it look as clean, as easy as possible. And that just so happened my last three fights before the last one, grappling was the easiest path to victory. So, you know, I was able to do that and implement my game plan, get clean, easy wins. I was able to go 5 full rounds, which is an amazing experience. Like you see a lot of these promotions, like I'm not shit talking promotions, but I just see it now. Like A1 Combat, if you notice, CFFC, their championship fights are actually like 3 rounds, 4 rounds. They're not even 5 rounds. So for me to be able to get the 5-round experience, that's already UFC level stuff. And then, you know, get the 5-round experience, was able to get the submission the last one. And I feel like, you know, just I don't have many fights, right? But I'm getting the proper experience in my last 3-4 fights that I need to, you know, went the distance 5 rounds, went the distance 3 rounds, got the submission finish, got the knockout finish. Like I've literally done shown all the aspects that you would need to gain experience wise before going to the UFC.
What's your most important lessons that you've learned from competing in MMA so far?
Oh man, from competing in MMA, well, honestly, the fact that I've only competed professionally 7 times, you know, you just learn that with experience comes like just better performances, man. I was kind of hard on myself early on, just for not, you know, getting a finish or whatever the case. But it's like I had so much time in between fights that it's like, how can you even get comfortable enough in the cage to perform at your best? And, you know, just realizing that with the experience comes the extra knowledge and the comfort of being in the cage and being able to actually perform, because you don't know till you know. Like when I had a 5-round fight scheduled, I don't know if I can go 5 full rounds. I mean, I do it in the gym, but it's a different beast in the cage, right? So, and then also I know I set people up for knockout shots in the gym, but you don't know till you know, right? Now I know I can knock someone out with my legs because I did it. And just having all those things, like the actual experience of being in the cage is like, it showed me it's like you can do all the stuff outside of the cage, but it really doesn't matter until you do it in the cage, and then you can be critical about your performance after that. But yeah, just having the mindset of knowing that you need to have the experience to be comfortable and to give the performances you really want.
And how'd you get the nickname Snake Eyes?
Yeah, people ask me that all the time. Actually, that was so it is to do with the Snake Eyes, like the G.I. Joe character, because some people think it's like, is it Snake Eyes like the dice, or like it's because when I was training at like my Muay Thai academy, I had this strength conditioning coach, and he'd always see me come into the gym just like fully decked out in black, like every day, because that's like my favorite color. Like even black shirt, like I always rock black, so he'd always see me rocking black. He's like, you remind me of like Snake Eyes, man. You just come in here in all black and just do some ninja shit. And I'm like, he's like, we're gonna call you Snake Eyes. And then my coach was like, yeah, you keep that name. So I was like, whatever. It's kind of one of those names that I got when I was younger, and it just kind of stuck. I actually tried to change it at one point. I told the ring announcer, I'm like, no, this is my nickname. And I tried to change it to something else. And I think he still called me Snake Eyes when he announced it. So I'm like, you know what? The name's sticking, whatever. It's original. It's not like one of those ones that everybody has, like the Dominator or the Demolisher, you know, just something corny everyone's got. It's cool. It's original, and I like it. It's grown on me.
I like it. It fits you, man. And if you could fight any fighter in history, who would it be and why?
History. In history. Man. Honestly, I'd probably want to fight Max Holloway. I'm sure Max Holloway is dead tired of hearing people wanting to call him out. But just like, he's just such an awesome fighter, man. And I know he he'd give a show for the crowd, and I like his style, and just like we'd have a great fight, like on the feet and everything like that. So probably Max, just because I'm a fan of his as well, and like he's such a crowd pleasing style, and yeah, it'd be no takedowns for sure.
He's the featherweight GOAT for sure, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be between him and Aldo, obviously.
I was thinking Aldo, but I'm like, man, I don't think I could even muster up the will to want to hit Aldo, man. Like, I respect him so much. It's like it's to that point where it's like I wouldn't even want to hit him type thing. Max, he can definitely take a punch, so he's all good.
Do you have any hobbies or passions that you like to do outside of MMA?
Man, it feels like in the last 12 months at least, it's like there's been no mental space for hobbies. But yeah, I love like sports, man. I grew up playing like every sport under the sun, so I'm super competitive. Anytime you get me, get any kind of competition, any kind, I'm all for it. So lately, it's been more video games than other sports, because trying not to injure myself outside of the training room. So I love playing sports against like my sports games against my good friends. So I'll play UFC, I'll play soccer and NBA. Like we'll literally do the whole roundabout. We'll play UFC first. I'll smack them all in that, and then we'll play NBA. I'll smack them up in that, and then we'll play FIFA. I'll smack them up in that. We do the whole trio. We play all the sports games, and like I just love shit talking and just the banter between the boys and the competition, and like that's the funnest thing.
PlayStation or an Xbox guy?
Man, I grew up in Xbox, like die hard, bro. I was like all about Gears of War, Halo, like die hard Xbox dude. And then just recently, I got my first PlayStation, PS5. Well, that's not a lie. I had a PlayStation 2, but everybody did. That was before Xbox, right? I'm transitioning back over to the Team PlayStation because Xbox has been lacking. I'm not gonna lie.
What's your go-to post-fight cheat meal after you've done everything? Put in all your work.
It's not a cheat meal, but I have to have passion fruit juice, man. It's Del Monte. Is the brand's Del Monte, and it's passion fruit juice in Portuguese. We're in Brazil. They call it maracujá. So suco de maracujá. That's like, oh my God, I'm addicted to that. And then just a whole box of it's like a white macadamia nut cookies. I think it's Western Farms, but those are like my two things after everything. I'm like, it's just so much sugar, but it's like, dude, I'll down that whole box of cookies in one sitting with some homo milk, so it's like extra fatty. And then like when I'm just sitting at home, I'll just randomly fill up a whole glass of passion fruit juice, man. It's bad. It's bad, but it's so good. I already lost the abs, man. It's only been 2 weeks. The abs are gone, unfortunately. But I'm still training. I'm still staying in shape. I'm still good to do 5 rounds, but the abs are a little faded by now.
That was all I had for you today, man. Is there any sponsors, teammates, or socials you want to shout out before we go?
And I always like to shout out my sponsors. Strike Recovery, that's the team that I was talking about. My physios, they've been taking care of me since my first ever title fight in like 2019. They've been with me for like 5 years, taking care of me. Hashtag Capoeira Vancouver, obviously that's my family, my Capoeira family. They, brought me up, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be fighting. Team Pinnacle MMA, the guys that trained me with, Dennis Kang, everyone out in Richmond there. Fairfax Partners, they've been with me for the last few fights, sponsoring me, man, making sure I get in the cage and have everything I need. Yeah, man, there's just some guys that have been, really taking care of me, and I always feel like I really want to give them a shout out every time I can. So
I appreciate your time, Radley, man, and I look forward to seeing what's next for you in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day and give, some limelight to us fighters, man. It's a tough game in the regional, so we need all the help we can, and I appreciate you doing that too, bro.
Absolutely, man. You have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.